Murphy, it's a review! Yes, I've been saving that one for quite some time. As you can see, we are back in this strange room I always use, and today we are looking at the ultimate RoboCop trilogy box set thing. Yes, and you see, as you might have guessed, I am something of a massive, ridiculously huge and fanatical RoboCop follower. Indeed, ever since I discovered RoboCop by having a glorious marathon of all three of them in one go. In one afternoon I started watching the first one and I was so bewitched I watched all three in one go. It's crazy. But ever since then I have had no choice but to consider it. Well, I added it to... I'm rambling. Before, there were two films which I considered to be the greatest there ever were. There was Total Recall, which I have on me at all times, and there was also Highlander, which I do not have on me right now. But RoboCop has joined the ranks of my three. It is the three. The two became three, and now there is a trilogy of... See, like, so many trilogies, yes. But I will now show you, using magical post-production effects, my poster I have of RoboCop next to my Total Recall and Highlander posters. That's just crazy, isn't it?
It's good. It's very good.
Now, naturally, since RoboCop is one of my favourite things ever, I just had to get some sort of definitive box set of it. So I got this, and actually very reasonably priced. I was surprised. I think it was about $5 including postage, so that's pretty insane for three films, one of which is absolutely astoundingly good and worth the price by itself. And this is a nice nifty box set. I wouldn't be showing it to you otherwise, unless it was truly atrocious and I wanted to make fun of it, but fortunately, 'tis not the case. Now, I think I'm going to go into shaky cam for a while, so I can show you in more intimate detail the large amounts of sexiness that comes off this box. Now, the first thing you notice is the blue and white colour scheme, which obviously matches RoboCop, or rather his costume in the second film, which is rather mysteriously blue, and then it just goes back to being white again, but we're not going to focus on that. Yes, I wonder what colour they'll decide on if they make that statue in Detroit, which they so totally should. That'd just be the greatest thing ever. And they should have him talk, so you'll drive by him and he'll go, "Keep out of trouble," and then if you happen to be called Clarence Boddicker, he'll go, "Clarence Boddicker!" And I may be imagining how amazing it will be, but look, he's right there on the front, looking angry, or rather, no, I mean, he's not so much looking angry. This is looking angry. This is just looking, like, determined, and like he's about to shoot you in the groin for trying to rape a woman or something. But as you can see, well, you might not be able to read it, but it's the Ultimate RoboCop Collection 3-disc set, previously unseen special edition director's cut of RoboCop. Yes, and indeed, it does have the director's cut of the first one on there, with about an extra minute of violence. And that's literally all it is just the worst violence from scenes that are already in the film. They just put that back in. And it rather strangely gives you the choice when you boot up the DVD between seeing the ultra-violent one or the non-violent one. Well, it's still less gory one, yes. And other than for purposes of comparison, why in the name of Satan would you not pick the more violent one? I don't know, but, unless you're trying to show an 18 rated film to your young child, and you're like, oh, it's quite violent, but I don't want the added violence of the director's cut. That would be quite ridiculous. But I've just remembered I need to make a point. You see this? RoboCop, one word, no space, big C, that makes it camel case. You see? It doesn't have a little c, it's not two words, and it certainly is not hyphenated. However, Spider-Man is hyphenated, not that anyone realizes that these days. Yes, but I may be ranting. But I think perhaps we should just get on with it and open this thing. But you see, I've been having trouble getting into it because it's made of titanium laminated with Kevlar. Yes. And this is still made of titanium, but never mind that. Let's get in there. Oh, I think we'll need a drill to get in here. We'll have to put it on a table and drill it open, and he'll be like, drink this, and he'll pour it in his face. And yes, but look, you open it up and the first thing you see is him being all awesome, like he's in his pose. And you can imagine he's just about to flip the gun around and knock the box over and put it in his pocket. Yes. I might go to this angle. No, that's far less convenient for you, yes. But there you go. And then on this side you have him trying to shoot you in the face. And I'm pretty sure that's from where he goes, Robert! And he's talking to that bloke with a weird name I can never remember. And he's like, we killed you! We killed you! And then he just kind of goes a bit dopey for a minute and gets shot at, and then something explodes. But it's fine, it's fine. And you can see there's like a little montage of really blurry... No, they're only blurry to you. Us normal people can read it. We'll see it. There's just random images, which actually... I've just realised they're all from RoboCop 3. Why on earth would they pick that one to show you the pictures? I have no idea. That is very strange, but yes. There's weird, freaky vampire punks there. One of them on the left, there's the squeaky voice. Yes. But yeah, we're bored of that, so let's just open her up. And inside we have him on his chair, which he needs to be sleeping on. And oh, see, here we go. Here we go. These seem to all be pictures from the original, which makes a lot more sense, but oh well. And then up here you have his face, you can see, and it says RoboCop. I may be stating the obvious, so let's just move on, yes. And then you have a slightly more disturbing image of him all torn apart, like in the second one, after he's had all the drills and junk, and he's just kind of sitting there going, Murphy. Yes, but yes, it's a pretty cool puppet, but it's not as cool as Ed 209, who is also here, you know, with his awesome stop motion moving and junk. Although they did have a full-sized model of him for when he's just standing still. I want to know what happened to that model. Where did it go? Did they crush it? Did someone buy it? It must be somewhere. Who would destroy such a wonderful, glorious thing? You know, he'll be all like, please put down the weapon. With 20 seconds to comply. We were in the direct violation of penal code blah 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 blah. You now have 15 seconds to comply. 3, 2, 1. I am now authorized to use physical force. And poor Mr. Kinney would be very badly owned. But yes, you get to see that in particular violent vision with the director's cut, of course. But sadly we must move on. And then you open it up and you have a little booklet which we might look at in a moment. But you see it's got more pretty pictures, and you open it, very difficult. Yeah, like I cannot pick things up apparently. But you open it up and you get all 3 discs like that. And that's so handy, you know. I hate it when there seems to be an attitude in the DVD industry where if it's a special edition they have to put it in 1,000 different boxes with a million fold-out things and 50 extra booklets which don't tell you anything. Now that's all really far more annoyance than it's worth, but this one is a lot more, you know, restrained. I don't know if there are any more extravagant versions, but this one is fairly... You know, this is about as much as I would ever want it to be, any more than this. Anyway, plus, you know, any other complaints I could make are utterly destroyed by the fact there's a massive 3-panel picture of him looking all serious. You know, that one face he always has. But, yes. Well, there you go. Now, here we have, quite simply, the classic, original 18 there. Yes, note that, remember that. And then you have RoboCop 2, it kind of awkwardly says 2 down there instead of, you know, up there. I tend to get very angry when people make fun of RoboCop 2 and complain it's not brilliant and all that. I mean, because, you know, what did they expect? Those people, those wonderful people, Paul Verhoeven and however you say that name rather, you know, same man who made Total Recall, need I mention. Yes, he made one of the best movies ever to exist, ever in the history of ever, and then some different people were told they had to make a sequel, you know. Just, I'd hate to be them. Be like, oh god, what are we gonna do? But, so, you know, they tried to do something a bit different with it, you know. They stayed quite faithful to the original. You know, they threw in a little reference to Ed, Mr. Eddie down here, with him being stuck in a pothole for a second. You know, nothing too ridiculous. And then, you know, they gave RoboCop a feasible new adversary, a drug lord. You know, it wasn't exactly very subtle about the drug message, but, you know. Yes. But, you know, it took a sillier route, but it was quite faithful, and it did the same thing at the same time. It's a good sequel. I don't see why people complain. I think you'd have to be completely insane to think it's better than the original, but I'm not saying it's at all bad. You know, you can watch this and then this and be happy. That's what I did when I had that big marathon. I watched them both together, and I actually thought this one was almost as good. And then when I watched it back again, I was not as good as I remembered it. I was just kind of still a bit bewitched. I was under this one's influence so much. It's like a drug itself. A deadly new drug. 20 billion times more addictive than cocaine. RoboCop. And then he gets shot and it's no one expected the waiter to shoot him. No. But yes. But then we have the black sheep, as it were. RoboCop 3. I mean, it's not awful. It's not awful. It's not terrible. But it is bad. In the same way, number 2 is not bad, number 3 definitely is bad. I mean, you know you're in trouble when it's not Peter Weller anymore, for one thing. Him and his big chin, that distinctive chin, you know. They got someone whose chin looked remarkably like his, at least, but other than that, I mean, it's much sillier. It's only a 15, they got that, they tried to dumb it down, make it family friendly, all that stuff. They took the silliness too far. It does have, I like how it kind of ties up the trilogy. I'm not gonna spoil it, but I think it ends logically and well, and it's a nice conclusion, you know. I mean, yeah, some people don't know this film exists, either because they never heard of it or they deliberately blank it from their memories, but I still do get annoyed when people go on and on and on about it being bad, because it isn't horrible. I mean, there are worse sequels out there. Cough! But, you know, if I am depressed by this, let's just cover it up. Oh, but now I've covered RoboCop 2. Okay, how about this? How about this? How about this? How about this? I'm just going to put Total Recall in front of it. So now this is now the new RoboCop trilogy. It goes RoboCop, RoboCop 2, Total Recall. There we go, I'm happy. You know, Mr. Paul Verhoeven, however you say his name, he went from RoboCop in the late 80s, and his exact very next film was Total Recall. This man is a genius. Why has he not been, like, crowned a saint or something? He should be knighted or any other kind of thing we can do. I mean, actually I wouldn't want to be knighted because that would mean I'd be near the Queen, who does exactly nothing. But yes, here is the RoboCop booklet that I'm fumbling with. Yes, it has him shooting fools on the front and him looking a bit smug on the back. I'm seeing a theme here. Yes, and I'm not going to read this to you, but it's just it's not particularly crazy, and oh look, even the official booklet gets it wrong. They didn't write RoboCop with camel case. I'm angry now. I don't like that booklet anymore. Oh, fine. Look, it's got some extremely mild info that you could probably far more easily. It's basically a marketing thing more than anything else, you know, anywhere. But yes, there we are. This is the RoboCop trilogy thing. No, we're not looking at that anymore. No, very bad. No. But that is your... Oh, I'm putting it together wrong. Oh, I should probably just cut and have it back together, but that would be boring. You know, you want to see me fumble about, and I said fumble a lot. There we go. There you go, it's not too complicated. It's not like those Lord of the Rings boxes where they just get 15 layers of pointless colours. Getting there. Oh, I think I might just cut, hang on. So there you have it, the RoboCop trilogy box set. I think it comes in slightly different versions, but I like the bluey one. I think there's like a kind of goldish, bronzish one. Aren't they supposed to be making a statue out of bronze? I can't remember, but there we are. Now, I am well aware that, intriguingly, RoboCop, Total Recall, and Highlander may all be getting remakes, and I'm extremely split on this. I mean, for one thing, there's no possible hope in hell they're going to improve any of them by remaking them. Quite the opposite is much more likely. But if it brings RoboCop, Total Recall, and Highlander to a new generation, that's certainly a good thing. I mean, there's probably an entire generation of kids these days who don't understand that the 80s was just like the greatest time ever. You know, people keep saying to me I was born in the wrong decade, and I agree. You know, I mean, all three of my favourite films are 80s movies. I know this technically came out in 90, but it was made in all the filming was done in 89. I call it an 80s movie. Plus it's like, you know, exactly the definitive 80s Arnie experience, so that's a technicality, but that is no coincidence that all my favourite movies are from the 80s, because it was such a loud, wonderful, violent, extravagant time. I like to call it extravagant. Everything was big, up to and including the hair. The hair was very big. Yes. I may never have seen that wonderful time myself, but I can make up for it by telling you all to watch RoboCop again and again and again. Yes. I think your prime directive should be to find RoboCop, put RoboCop in a machine, watch RoboCop, classified. Now, yes, about those remakes, if they do actually remake them, I hope they do their best to stay as far away from the original things as possible, because like I said, there's no way they're going to make them better. I sincerely doubt there'll be any stop motion, for one thing. A dead art, I tell you that. But, caressing it. Yes. Ooh. Yes. But, you know, I think they should take the RoboCop 2 approach. They should, you know, they should, like, try and do a similar thing, but do it in a new way. Make it different. Just differentiate it. Keep it apart, because you're never going to make it better at all. In any way, no. And if you ask me, the effects will look tackier. Yes, they will look worse than a film that's over 20 years old. I think George Lucas knows what I mean. Or rather, he doesn't. But, yes. So then, what is my final word on this? I like it! Very well.
Serve the public trust, protect the innocent, uphold the law. Stay out of trouble. Drop it! Dead or alive, you are coming with me. Your move, creep. Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.
I'd buy that for $1.